I've been thinking a lot about beliefs and like how our beliefs, if we're like overly attached to what we know and what we believe, can keep us from connecting with others, can keep us from in a perspective of superiority, of I know better than this person doesn't see life how I see it, or they don't value the same type of knowledge that I value. And so and when we're overly attached from the perspective of what I know brings me value and worth, then when people know different things or see life differently, we go, their ideas are challenging my beliefs, which is what gives me worth and value. And so I can't truly listen to them. I can't move beyond my judgments of what they know because then my worth and value will be challenged. And so it ends up leading to us having a subtle tendency of judging others, of not really hearing others, or trying to force our beliefs onto them as a way of protecting our worth and value. And where does that kind of like idea of my knowledge, what I know bring me value? And I would say it comes from our upbringing. It comes from that when at some point in my life, like probably at a very young age, I was made, or maybe all throughout my life, just depending on when we were hurt and when hurtful things happened, we were made to feel worthless, unlovable, unacceptable, that we weren't enough as we are. And then we grow up in a school system that teaches us the more you know, right? The more praise and encouragement and even attention you probably get from your teachers. The more you know, the more your parent, like if you get straight A's, the more your parents are probably going to congratulate you and tell you what you're doing, how much of a good job you're doing, or at least won't be as mean to you if you get A's rather than B's, depending on what kind of parents we had. And we learn that if I learn enough, then I'm in school, then I'm considered brilliant and smart, and I don't have to feel unworthy. I don't have to feel like I am not enough because these A's, this knowledge that I've learned seems to make other people realize that I am enough and that I am talented. And then become attached to what we know. And we think if I we think that this knowing that I have, if someone comes and challenges it, it's going, if someone comes and has a different perspective, if someone comes and sees life differently, or has learned different things, then I will have to face this unworthiness that's the underlying driving force for why I study or for why I try and learn so much. And we get in a process of trying to control life or control our connections by only surrounding ourselves with people who believe the same thing. And it's really it's how knowledge can be get used against us, because when people are attached to this knowledge brings me worth and value, and it helps me hide from my worthlessness or the parts of myself that don't feel like enough, we then are willing to buy in to knowledge that might not be fully true, but that other people around us seem to believe and pick up. And this is how organized religion, in a lot of ways, while there's good things about organized religion, this is how organized religion can be harmful, is when the group that I've invested, that I've found community in, that has put value in us learning about the Bible or about God, then says that there's knowledge about like persecuting, or like the Bible says that there shouldn't be gay people, or the gay people shouldn't have sex, or knowledge that if I explore if I explore like promiscuous sex or I explore alcohol and drugs, then I'm a sinner and I'm gonna go to hell, right? Those are now, and those are things that then are causing ourselves to judge ourselves for merely exploring like different things in life. And while I would say, like substances and promiscuous sex probably aren't going to serve you in the long term. And the last video I released was a lot on like how we should have healthy sexual boundaries. It's okay to explore it. It's okay to explore it. You're not going to not make it into heaven by exploring things like promiscuous sex, by exploring different substances. And it might, if we do it long enough, probably won't be that good for our body. But I would even say you've never left heaven. What if heaven is actually the light of your soul? And that we are actually bringing heaven to earth by just bringing through more of the light of our soul in our day to day, rather than our egoic, righteous tendencies of what I believe adds value to me. And if anyone sees life differently, then they are someone I need to put down. They are someone I shouldn't listen to. They are someone that instead of hearing their perspective, I need to judge, criticize, and try and force my beliefs onto. And we see that in religion, and we also see it in politics, which is in politics, a lot of the news and media has a negative spin on it. And why does it have a negative spin? And I would say it has a negative spin to try and make people more hopeless, because if people are more hopeless, they're more easy to control and manipulate. And I don't really want to get into conspiracy theories or like what's really going on. But if you were to think, if there's someone in the world that has endless amounts of money, the game probably wouldn't be to gain more money. The game would be, how much can I control and influence people? And if you're coming from a place of trying to control and influence people, you're probably not trying to control and influence people in a positive way. You're trying to control and influence people in a way that makes people powerless and makes them subservient to you, or subservient to God, or subservient to a political system that isn't really working for anyone, if we were to be fully honest. And it's what is the backbone, you could think of it, it's kind of like what is the backbone of our political and religious systems. Is not all religious churches and stuff buy into this. There are some that generally create acceptance and love and real community with varying degrees of truth of what really is true about God and about life. But I'd say if we can get to a perspective of, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter what you believe. It's how much you love and care and connect with people around you, even if they see things differently. And can we face our unworthiness and the parts of ourselves that are not enough, so that we don't need to try and righteously like put people down if they're on the other side of the spectrum? Like if we're a Democrat, can we be open to Republicans' viewpoints and not go, oh, they're a Republican, fuck them, I hate them, I'm never going to talk to this person? No. Some probably on both sides, Democratic and Republicans, some have crazy viewpoints of we need to take away people's rights, we need to discriminate this minority group, or if someone's transgender, that's against God or whatever. Those people, we necessarily don't need to listen to and probably don't really need to be around. But if someone is standing for, I want everyone to have equal rights, I want minority groups to be supported, can we hear their perspective, whether they are Democrat or Republican? And maybe maybe we think there's not many Republicans that have that viewpoint. I don't follow a lot of politics, so, yeah. But can we stay open to, there might be grains of truth in what the other side is sharing, and there is only going to be real change on this planet when we can come together and stop judging the other side. When no matter if we are super spiritual, super religious, super atheist, Can we say, I want to hear this other person's perspective because there probably is a grain of truth? And maybe it's a bigger grain and maybe it's a smaller grain, but the gift of that is I get to really hear other people and see other people, and listening from openness of I'm not going to put down your viewpoints creates connection and creates love in between people, and builds greater unity on the planet, which is what this world is really working towards, is unity. If you want this world to change, can we stand not for our viewpoints, but for unity? And can we say, how deeper can I listen to people? How deeper can I love on people? And even if I find myself arguing with another person's viewpoints, what can I own that I could adopt from their viewpoints? Because it always takes two to tango when we're arguing with someone. And oftentimes both sides are not able to meet each other, and it's why you have an argument. And if one side softens and goes, what could I meet in this other person? Like I had a conversation, this is what inspired the talk. I had a conversation with someone last night. Again, I'm not very political. They were very political. And they were telling me I should be more into politics and into voting, and I thought about it and I was like, why did we almost get in an argument? And it was because there was a grain of truth in what they were sharing, which I probably could be a little bit more politically informed and aware, and I probably could be a little bit more, could add a little bit more meaning to voting, because voting does, protect people's rights. And as a 27-year-old, it's like I'm still trying to figure out my career and just survive in the world. And I tend to focus my time and attention on different things and trying to create change in different ways. Like I really believe like change starts with people. And if I can change to be the most loving and accepting, or even deeper versions of the most loving and accepting person I can, then I am able to bring greater influence of love and acceptance to the people I'm connected to. And that's what I really believe is going to start to shift things into a world that is more loving and accepting of all, is when the people let go of their judgments and are able to love and accept everyone on different sides of viewpoints and ideologies, no matter how right or wrong we think they are. Because real power comes when humanity is coming together, and there's the political system, a lot of religious beliefs, and I'm not going to say all of them, some, and there is truth in it. There's truth in the politics, there's truth in religion, but when we are caught up in righteousness of I'm too attached to my ideas give me value, it keeps us separate from other people, separate from connecting with people who see life differently. And it keeps people separate. And when people feel alone and isolated is when they're most likely to adopt propaganda, when they're most likely to adopt being influenced or herded like animals to whatever agendas people with a lot of money are trying to push onto us. And that, might be a little out there, might be a little bit more of like maybe even a conspiracy idea, but it's something to think about. Is why is the news always so negative? Why does religion make it such a point to try and convert others, such a point of this is the only way? And what if it was trying to keep people separate? And what if it was created from an idea of there's a group of people who want to have the most control, power, wealth on the planet, and these systems were created from them, or at least heavily influenced by them, trying to keep everyone giving their power, giving their money, giving their time and attention to these systems that are really just trying to control people. And so and I'm not going to say that politics doesn't have value and religion doesn't have value. It does. But can we use it to have value to build greater community and reasons to connect with people and reasons to hear other people's perspectives rather than I'm attached to the community I'm in and I try and push away anyone that I view as an outsider? And when we can embody change, when people start to change, is when systems will have no choice to change. When people are willing to go, this is what I stand for. I'm not willing to stand for less. And you are either going to have to hear me or we will cause more and more problems for you and for your agenda you're trying to push on us is when systems are going to have to start to listen to people. And the reason why there's so many systems on this planet that a lot of, like capitalism and corporations and religion and politics, that a lot of people would agree aren't really working for us is, and maybe we think, well, they're kind of working for me or they are working for me, and that's okay. I'm just sharing a perspective, and can we listen openly without thinking I need to judge what he's saying or think that he's wrong? And maybe I am wrong. Who knows? But can we, that, where is I going? That when we're thinking about when we are willing to stand for, I'm not willing to settle for less, is when less will no longer be an option. And it's because so many people are willing to settle for being for willing to settle and not get together and stand for change. That is why we're stuck in the systems we are in. Like if everyone if more and more people started to protest what they didn't like happening in politics, the politics would have to start to pay attention. And it's the fact that there's so much media and so much agendas on this planet that have a negative spin that keep people going. I can't believe this is happening. I can't believe this political person is doing this. I can't believe that they're talking about this or lying through their teeth on national television. And then we get together with all of our friends and complain about it, and nothing gets changed. Nothing happens. And we get lost in a trap of, if we just continue complaining, we never end up standing for what we'd actually like to see differently. And whether that's joining protests or doing like some like knocking on doors and sharing what you would like to see, or promoting political people that you would like to see actually in office, the more we can stand for, I will not stand for less, the more this world is going to change. And with that, like, and with talking to my friend last night, it was something I realized is I could stand for a little bit what I would like to see in the realm of politics a little bit better. And I could prioritize voting and doing and prioritize being a little bit more informed than I am. And realizing that everyone is sharing a grain of truth. And if we can adopt their truth, or if we can at least hear them and hear what feels true to me from what they're sharing, we will find we'll get in less arguments. We'll find we will form deeper connection with people, and there will be more loving relationships in our life, which will, even if that's the only step you take, would be a step towards change, would be a step towards unity, would be a step towards systems changing. And while you might be like, I'm just one person, how could I impact the whole? Humanity is interconnection, and when one point changes, all the points slightly change. And another thing, just like to kind of branch on, so like I was talking about, like our unworthiness feeds feeds our attachment to our ideas, which then leads to us judging other ideas or forcing our ideas onto other people. And whenever we're forcing our ideas onto another, we're really saying, I don't believe my idea. Because if I really believed in it, I would be detached from, they'll find their way to what I believe, even if it's in a couple lifetimes, because I know what I believe is true. And when we really subtly are more attached to this idea adds value to me than this idea is true is when we can come from a place of forcing our ideas onto others rather than being open to they will find their way. And I wanted to talk, kind of branch into this talk of when we think we need a partner. And, it's something I feel. I feel like I definitely feel like some days we're like, I want a partner. I need a partner. Universe, what are we doing over here? I'm a safe, loving, awesome human being. Come on. I need one. Or the idea of I need a partner by when I'm 30 or when I'm 35. And the question is, if we have that viewpoint, if we didn't get a partner by then, what would you feel? What would be the feeling? If you were 35 and you had in your head, I need a partner by when I'm 35. I need a family by then to start a family. And it didn't come, what would be the feeling? And it would probably be a feeling of unworthiness or failure or that you weren't good enough. And if we are attached to not feeling those feelings is when we get closer to that age and then start to rush towards relationships, try and rush into finding someone, try and rush in starting a family. And we end up rushing into a relationship or starting a family with a person who isn't quite right because we didn't take the time to fully get to know them and see, is this actually a safe investment for me to invest my time into? And I said this line yesterday and it was something that came through me and I had to think about it. I was like, is that true? But it felt true and my like third eye felt lit up when I said it. And I was like, okay, cool. But, that if you know a little about a person or know a lot about a person, the relationship you guys have together will still play out how it's going to play out. And I like had to think about that, but it's true. Who you are and who that person is won't change based on how much you know about each other. And sure, if you know a little bit more about each other, you'll probably be able to dial in like how you guys meet each other a little bit better. But if that person is the right person for you or the wrong person for you, will not change by how much you know about them. And so we get to know people not from getting to know people gives me control about whether this relationship will work or not. Getting to know people helps me be informed about what I'm investing my time into. And it's the same thing with like what I think I know gives me control about politics, gives me control about whether I get into heaven or not, or how life plays out. And it actually doesn't. That's just a fallacy, but it keeps us trapped in, I need to know more. I need to know more because I can understand it. Then I can prevent bad things from happening. And that's just an idea. That is not a reality. And in truth, something I've learned is it doesn't really matter how much you love people. You could be fully committed to someone. You could be giving them your whole heart and they could walk away tomorrow or the next day. And it is a little bit of a scary truth, but it's like why we want to be discerning about the relationships we pick up, because we have to go, if this person changed their mind tomorrow, would the heartbreak be worth the moments we're having together? And so it's why we stand for, if it's not a hell yes, if it's not a holy shit, it's a hell no, because I don't need to be devastated and crushed from someone who gave me pretty good moments or sometimes those moments felt a little mediocre. And I've been resting in the idea lately of what if I never find a partner? And it actually helps me be so detached from when I get to know people, relating to people of instead of this is my next partner, like they got big boobs, they're attractive, gotta be my next partner. Instead, it's like, I'm resting in I'm never gonna find a partner. And when you can rest in maybe even I'm never gonna find a partner, it helps you be detached from I'm from getting to know people at from a place of I'm just getting to know them, and I literally am not even thinking about dating them, or maybe I have a couple thoughts about that, but it's not something I'm seriously investing my energy into. Because if it ain't a holy shit, if it ain't hell yes, it's a hell no. And it really, when we're allowed to rest in I'm never going to find a partner. It doesn't mean that's going to happen, but it does help us be way more detached, getting to know people that are attractive, and helps us be way more discerning of what do I actually want and value, and what would actually be worth my deepest devastation if this were to fall apart. And even the idea of if this falls, even at the idea of if this does fall apart, if this does really not work out, that when we're relating to from a place of detachment is when we're actually free to give our full self to another person, because we're not trying to be someone different than ourselves. We're not trying to to always people please, hoping this person will like us more, or hoping this person won't abandon us, because we faced our feeling of abandonment, we faced our feeling of failure by resting in I'm never going to find a partner, because that statement actually brings you into the parts of yourself that have value from being in a relationship, that are codependent, that are people pleasing, that try and shape shift so people don't leave you or abandon you. And so if you can rest in not that I need a partner, but I'm never going to find one, it brings up all your unprocessed feelings that make you think I need a partner to have worth and value. And when you face those feelings, there's so now no longer an attachment, or as much of an attachment to needing a partner, and you're able to just enjoy life and enjoy people without thinking what you achieve or don't achieve gives you value, because it's the underlying wounds that make us think we need a partner, that makes us think we need to know more, that makes me us think that I won't feel worth and value until I achieve this. And if we willing to rest this in, this is never going to come, this is never going to happen, I'm never going to not be alone, all of a sudden those feelings say thank you for no longer hiding from me in needs that are really wants. And when we do that is when we find real freedom and sovereignty to be ourselves, freedom and sovereignty in detachment to letting people come and go into our life as we please. And we find we get hurt so much less because we have faced our hurt, and we're not projecting our hurt onto others by righteously being attached to our ideas, because there's now no longer any feelings of failure, unworthiness, unlovability that we're hiding from when we rest in this is never going to come, this is never going to happen, because it and we can and the silver lining is still work towards whatever you want to do. If you meet attractive people, go get to know them. If you want to be a professional singer and think I'm never going to actually achieve that, continue to work at it. Don't let that belief be your reality. Just let it be a belief that frees you from the pain of I need this achievement, I need a person for other people to recognize me or for me to recognize myself. So that was pretty cool. I like that. Thank you for listening. I love you guys. I appreciate your time and attention, and I hope this was helpful in some way, shape, or form. Bye.